and we hid her body. Well, when did she have the accident and died? Because the only time she was left unattended was when we were at dinner. So if she died then, how could we have disposed or hidden her body, when there was an immediate threat? It's just nonsense. So, and if she died when we were in the apartment or fell and did something, why would we cover that up?
Well, it's very important to us that the case has been reopened. And over the coming weeks and months, we're looking to develop further our relationship with the Portuguese police and authorities, and hoping jointly to work together in a focused and determined way to find out what has happened to Madeleine McCann.
On May 3rd, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished from a holiday apartment at the Ocean Club in Praia da Luz, Portugal. Her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, had left Madeleine and her twin siblings asleep in an unlocked ground-floor apartment while dining at a tapas restaurant 55 meters away. At 10 p.m., Kate found Madeleine gone, the window open. The case remains unsolved after 18 years, with Christian Brueckner as the prime suspect. Can new evidence finally bring a resolution? Before we analyze the suspicions in the case, please tell me where you saw this video from. I will read it all and spread it to the world. From June the 3rd to 5th, 2025, a large-scale search operation took place in Ataleia, Portugal, near a rundown cottage once occupied by Christian Brueckner, the prime suspect in the 2007 disappearance of Madeleine McCann. The effort involved German police leading the operation alongside Portugal's Guarda Nacional Republicana and investigators from the UK's Operation Grange. The search employed advanced ground-penetrating radar, capable of scanning deep beneath the earth to detect buried objects or anomalies. The focus was on abandoned houses, drained wells, and ditches in the area, a location of significance due to Brueckner's known presence in the Algarve from 1995 to 2007. Portuguese firefighters assisted by draining wells, while heavy machinery like backhoes was used to excavate potential sites. The operation utilized 3D mapping and geolocation data to pinpoint locations tied to Brueckner's activities around the time of Madeleine's disappearance. This coordinated effort among 3 countries aimed to uncover physical evidence before Brueckner's scheduled release from prison on September 17, 2025. After serving a 7-year sentence for a serious 2005 assault in Praia da Luz. The timing was critical, as investigators faced mounting pressure to secure evidence that could prevent him from potentially fleeing to a non-extradition country. During the 3-day search, authorities recovered several items, including 2 firearms, one a small self-defense weapon and another over 50 years old, possibly non-functional. They also found animal bones, clothing fragments, and scraps of fabric. These items were sent to a forensic laboratory in Lisbon, with investigators hoping to identify DNA, fibers, or other traces that could link to Madeleine McCann. According to Portugal's Correio da Manhã, the firearms were unlikely to be lethal weapons, dampening hopes they could serve as key evidence. The prolonged exposure of these items to environmental factors over 18 years poses a significant challenge, as such conditions can degrade forensic markers. While advancements in science offer some hope, the absence of immediate connections to Madeleine has left investigators cautious. As of June 2025, no lab results have been publicly disclosed. The discovery of animal bones rather than human remains further complicates the narrative, as does the possibility that the clothing could belong to unrelated activities in the remote area. The primary objective of the Ataleia search was to find concrete evidence linking Christian Brueckner to Madeleine McCann's disappearance. Brueckner, an individual with a history of serious convictions against others, has been the main suspect since 2020, supported by phone records placing him near the Ocean Club on the night of May 3, 2007, and a witness statement from Helga Bushing, who claimed Brueckner said Madeleine didn't scream. The search was a critical effort to uncover items that could definitively tie him to the crime. The urgency was heightened by a controversial incident in June 2025, when a former German Federal Criminal Police employee paid a fine on Brueckner's behalf, securing his early release and dramatically shortening the window for the investigation. This sparked outrage as it reduced the time available to gather evidence. The McCann family, alongside public petitions and rallies, has pressed authorities to act swiftly, fearing Brueckner could evade justice if freed. In 2016, German police conducted a significant search of an abandoned factory near Braunschweig, Germany, rented by Christian Brueckner under a false name. The factory, hidden and difficult to access, was investigated as part of a broader probe into Brueckner's activities, not initially tied to the McCann case. The search uncovered a disturbing cache of evidence, concealed beneath the remains of his pet dog. The most alarming find was a collection of hard drives and USB devices containing approximately 8,000 illicit images and videos depicting the exploitation of children, some of which he appeared to have filmed himself. The deliberate burial of these devices indicated a calculated effort to hide his activities. Additionally, investigators found children's swimsuits, toys, and a bicycle. Among the documents was a handwritten story with eerie similarities to Madeleine's case, including details about a child being taken from a holiday setting. The search revealed Brueckner's pattern of targeting areas near family-friendly resorts, suggesting he deliberately chose locations to observe or prey on children. Beyond the digital evidence, the 2016 search uncovered items that painted a chilling picture of organized criminal behavior. Police found ropes, zip ties, duct tape, and rubber masks, tools commonly associated with restraining victims. They also discovered stun guns and chemical substances, potentially sedatives, indicating premeditated actions. The presence of children's clothing was particularly disturbing, as none could be linked to known victims, raising fears about unidentified crimes. The materials pointed to a predator who planned his actions carefully. The disturbing story, while not direct evidence, matched his psychological profile, further fueling suspicions. The organization of the evidence suggested a long-term commitment to his crimes, with the factory serving as a hub for storing illicit materials. However, significant limitations hindered their direct application to the Madeleine McCann case. No DNA evidence or specific items belonging to Madeleine were found. The absence of forensic links meant investigators could not conclusively tie Brueckner to her disappearance. Many of the digital devices were tampered with, and the passage of nearly a decade had diminished the likelihood of finding intact DNA. The chillingly similar story was circumstantial and lacked legal weight. Furthermore, coordination issues between German, Portuguese, and British authorities complicated matters, and the failure to test certain items for DNA at the time was later criticized as a missed opportunity. In 2024, German police achieved a significant breakthrough by accessing a Hotmail account belonging to Christian Brueckner. The account contained messages that investigators believe are related to Madeleine's case. Additionally, authorities identified a second Hotmail account used by Brueckner to share illicit material involving children. Notably, emails in this second account were deleted in early 2007, coinciding with the period of Madeleine's disappearance. This temporal alignment raised suspicions that Brueckner may have deliberately erased communications to cover his tracks. The discovery added weight to existing evidence, but the exact content of the messages remains closely guarded. Despite the significance of these findings, substantial limitations prevent them from being conclusive. Legal restrictions prohibit the lead prosecutor from disclosing specific details, leaving the public and the McCann family unaware of the message's precise context. Without clear evidence directly linking the communications to Madeleine, The messages remain circumstantial. The deleted emails further complicate matters, as recovered data may be incomplete. As Brueckner nears his prison release, the inability to fully leverage this evidence underscores the ongoing challenge of securing a conviction. In 2008, during a music festival in Spain, Helga Busching, a former acquaintance of Christian Brueckner, alleged that Brueckner remarked that Madeleine didn't scream, suggesting intimate knowledge of her fate. This statement, reported a decade later, became a cornerstone of the case against him. However, the long delay in reporting raised questions about the witness's motives and memory, and his credibility was scrutinized. Despite its potential significance, the testimony lacks corroboration. In the week leading up to Madeleine's disappearance, another witness, Ken Ralphs, encountered Brueckner near Praia da Luz with an unidentified, distraught man. According to Ralphs, this man confessed to assisting a friend in taking a child to raise money. Ralphs believed this was connected to Madeleine's case and reported it multiple times, but claimed his tips were never seriously pursued, perhaps due to the initial focus on the McCanns as suspects. This account suggests Brueckner may have had accomplices, but the vagueness of the accomplice's identity limits the testimony's impact. An ex-girlfriend of Brueckner provided further insight into his character, describing him as harboring a deep animosity for children, particularly British children, and exhibiting violent tendencies. She also revealed his consumption of disturbing material, which aligns with the thousands of illicit images and videos found in the 2016 search. This testimony paints a picture of a volatile and predatory individual. However, her statements lack specific details, tying Brueckner directly to Madeleine's disappearance, focusing instead on his general behavior, which limits their legal weight. After 18 years, the search for Madeleine McCann has become a mosaic of chilling clues, near misses, and systemic failures. We are left with the digital ghost of a predator, the echo of witness testimonies, and the quiet endurance of a family that has never stopped searching. How does this long, winding path to a still uncertain truth make you feel? When confronted with a case so full of shadows, where do you believe the answer lies? This story is more than a mystery. It is a profound question about the nature of justice itself. What does it mean to keep hope alive when so much time has passed? And what is our collective responsibility to a little girl whose face the world knows, but whose fate remains a secret? With Brueckner is compelling, but it requires corroboration to elevate it beyond circumstantial evidence. The reliability of these testimonies was significantly undermined in 2024, when a Braunschweig court, handling unrelated assault charges against Brueckner, deemed Busching and other witnesses not credible. This ruling stemmed from inconsistencies in their statements and potential ulterior motives, such as seeking leniency in their own legal troubles. Busching's criminal history and delayed reporting further eroded trust in his account, while Ralphs's testimony suffered from the lack of follow-up and the unidentified accomplice's absence from records. The ex-girlfriend's statements, though consistent with Brueckner's documented behavior, were too general to directly implicate him in Madeleine's case. These credibility issues, combined with the absence of forensic evidence like DNA or a confession, weaken the testimony's ability to support charges. As Brueckner nears his prison release on September 17, 2025, for a 2005 conviction, the reliance on potentially unreliable witnesses underscores the challenges facing prosecutors, who must build a case amidst jurisdictional disputes and fading evidence. On May 3, 2007, at 7:32 p.m., Christian Brueckner received a 30-minute call from a prepaid phone number while near the Ocean Club in Praia da Luz. This call, occurring just 90 minutes before Madeleine was reported missing, is a critical piece of the investigation. The timing and location raise suspicions about his activities that night. suggesting he may have been coordinating plans. The use of a prepaid phone, which is often untraceable, indicates an attempt to avoid detection. Despite its significance, the identity of the caller remains undisclosed. This lack of transparency frustrates efforts to connect the call directly to the disappearance, as no public information confirms its content. It remains a tantalizing, yet inconclusive clue. Phone records do confirm that Brueckner was in close proximity to the Ocean Club on that evening, strengthening suspicions. Data from mobile towers pinpointed his phone's location near the resort, corroborating other evidence. This location data was a breakthrough in 2020 when German authorities named him as the main suspect. However, the lack of precise GPS coordinates or additional forensic evidence from the McCann's apartment limits its ability to conclusively tie him to the crime. Christian Brueckner owned a Jaguar car that was reportedly seen near the Ocean Club on the night Madeleine vanished. Adding to the suspicion, Brueckner transferred ownership of the Jaguar just days after her disappearance, a move investigators view as highly unusual and suggestive of an attempt to distance himself from potential evidence. This rapid transfer raises questions about whether he was trying to cover his tracks, possibly fearing the vehicle contained incriminating traces. However, no public information confirms whether the Jaguar was ever tested for DNA or other materials that could link it to Madeleine. This represents a significant gap in the investigation. Brueckner was also known to live in a beige VW van, frequently spotted near children's playgrounds and beaches in the Algarve. Local residents reported seeing the van parked for extended periods, with some accounts suggesting he used it to observe children, aligning with his documented predatory behavior. Despite its relevance, there is no public record indicating that the VW van was thoroughly tested for forensic evidence. This oversight has been criticized as a missed opportunity. In 2025, Brueckner wrote a provocative letter from prison, mocking investigators and asserting their lack of evidence. Serving his sentence for the 2005 assault, he claimed police had no concrete proof to link him to Madeleine's fate, predicting the investigation would shock the world with its failure. The letter, penned as his September 17th release date neared, reflects a manipulative mindset. His taunting tone suggests confidence in avoiding charges, leveraging the absence of forensic evidence. In June 2025, a former employee of Germany's Federal Criminal Police Office, BKA, paid a 1,446 fine on behalf of Christian Brueckner, securing his early release on September 17, 2025, instead of in January 2026. The former BKA technician, previously involved in wiretapping Brueckner's cell, claimed the payment was a misunderstanding, telling Der Spiegel she believed the fine was solely for insulting a prison officer, an offense she deemed unjustified. This incident sparked outrage. The woman's prior role raised questions about her motives, with some speculating negligence or sympathy. The payment, confirmed by Braunschweig prosecutors, eliminated the chance to extend Brueckner's detention. The early payment shortened the investigation by over 3 months, a critical loss for authorities. It caused widespread anger, as it reduced the window to uncover forensic evidence. The German prosecutor, Hans Christian Wolters, noted the lack of sufficient evidence to charge Brueckner, and the shortened timeframe jeopardized the case, stoking fears he could flee. Public and political backlash ensued, with calls for an inquiry and theories of a cover-up spreading online. The payment not only disrupted investigative efforts, but also deepened distrust in the handling of the case. Christian Brueckner is set to be released from prison on September 17, 2025. German prosecutors, led by Hans Christian Wolters, fear that upon release, Brueckner may flee to a country without an extradition treaty, rendering prosecution nearly impossible. This concern stems from his history of evading authorities. The absence of definitive forensic evidence heightens the urgency. Brueckner's lawyer, Friedrich Fulcher, claims his client intends to settle on the German island of Sylt after release, but investigators are skeptical, citing his pattern of deception. The possibility of him relocating has sparked calls for preventive measures, such as extended investigative detention, known as Untersuchungshaft, though this requires stronger evidence. In January 2025, Hans Christian Walters publicly acknowledged a grim reality. There is little prospect of prosecuting Christian Brueckner due to the absence of definitive forensic evidence. Despite extensive investigations, no DNA, body, or specific items directly linking him to Madeleine have been found. This gap is critical. Searches have uncovered incriminating items, like illicit material involving children, but none bore a direct connection to Madeleine. The investigation has been hampered by poor coordination among German, Portuguese, and British authorities. Collaboration has been marked by inconsistent communication. For instance, video footage from homes near the Ocean Club was not fully shared among the agencies. Similarly, items from Brueckner's properties were not thoroughly tested. Early in the case, Portuguese police focused heavily on the McCanns, which diverted resources from other leads. The investigation suffered further due to the improper storage or loss of initial evidence collected in 2007. Samples from the apartment and rental car were either mishandled or misplaced, preventing re-examination with modern technology. British cadaver dogs detected traces that were later found to be inconclusive, partly due to degraded samples. As technology has advanced, the opportunity to retest these samples has been lost. With Christian Brueckner's release looming, authorities are in a desperate race. The June 2025 search in Atalaya was a critical attempt to find forensic evidence. Despite recovering 2 non-lethal guns, animal bones, and clothing, the search failed to yield a direct connection. This setback has dampened hopes. German prosecutors are exploring the use of Untersuchungshaft to keep him in custody. But this legal measure requires substantial evidence. Without forensic proof, invoking it risks violating human rights laws and could lead to the case's dismissal. Brueckner's lawyer has warned that unjustified detention could prompt legal action against the German state. A misstep could not only free Brueckner, but also discredit the entire 18-year quest for justice. As the deadline looms, the pressure to find a smoking gun has never been higher, with the risk of Brueckner evading accountability growing daily. As the final days tick down, the case of Madeleine McCann is no longer just a search for a missing child, but a desperate race against the clock. We are left with a chilling portrait of a suspect, a web of circumstantial clues, and a justice system grappling with its own failures. How does it feel to watch the gears of justice turn so slowly that they might not turn at all? In a story defined by what is missing, a child, a body, a confession, what does accountability look like? This case has tested the limits of hope, forensics, and international cooperation. Now, it asks us a final, haunting question. In the face of such profound uncertainty, what is the true price of waiting? On May 25, 2007, a witness at the Ocean Club Resort provided a statement that raised significant questions about the events surrounding Madeleine McCann's disappearance. The witness claimed to have seen Jerry McCann, Madeleine's father, carrying a heavy black bag as he left the family's apartment between 1:45 and 1:50 a.m. This testimony, if accurate, places Jerry in a suspicious position, as it occurred in the early morning hours after Madeleine was last seen. However, the witness's account was not included in official police reports, primarily because investigators did not specifically question them about the night prior to the reported disappearance. This lack of follow-up is a notable oversight. The testimony aligns with early suspicions about the McCanns, who were briefly considered persons of interest by Portuguese police before being cleared in 2008. The witness's claim, while compelling, lacks corroboration, and its emergence, weeks after the incident, raises questions about its reliability. Adding to the controversy, highly trained specialist dogs, deployed in July 2007, detected the scent of human remains in multiple locations associated with the McCanns. The dogs marked several areas: behind the living room sofa in the apartment, in Kate and Jerry's bedroom, in bushes near the back patio, on Kate McCann's clothing, and on Madeleine's stuffed toy, Cuddle Cat. Additionally, the dogs alerted to the same scent in a Renault Scenic, a car rented by the McCanns 24 days after Madeleine's disappearance. These findings fueled speculation that Madeleine may have come to harm in the apartment, supporting theories like that of former Portuguese investigator Gonçalo Amaral, who argued in his 2008 book, Maddie, The Truth of the Lie, that Madeleine passed away accidentally and her parents concealed the incident. The specialist dog alerts were significant, but their evidential value was limited by the lack of corroborating forensic evidence. Small traces of what appeared to be blood were found, but DNA tests were inconclusive. The alerts on the rental car further complicated the narrative. The evidence, while compelling, remains circumstantial without definitive DNA confirmation. The witness testimony and the dog findings have been central to one of the most controversial theories in the case, that Madeleine passed away in the apartment due to an accident, and her parents covered it up. This theory, championed by Gonçalo Amaral, posits that the McCanns staged an abduction to conceal their daughter's passing. However, several factors undermine this theory. First, the witness testimony was not formally recorded by police. Second, the lack of DNA evidence to confirm the dog alerts weakens their reliability in court. Improper storage of initial samples prevented re-examination with modern forensic techniques. Third, the McCanns were officially cleared as suspects in 2008 by Portuguese authorities, who shifted focus to other leads, such as Christian Brueckner. The McCanns vehemently denied Amaral's claims, suing him for defamation. They initially won damages, but Portugal's Supreme Court overturned the ruling in 2016, citing Amaral's right to free speech. The case remains unresolved at the European Court of Human Rights. The controversy is further complicated by the McCanns' public and legal efforts to maintain their innocence. They have consistently asserted that Madeleine was taken, supported by the open window in their apartment. Amaral's theory has been criticized as speculative, and the focus on the McCanns, early in the investigation, diverted resources from other suspects, including Brueckner, whose phone records place him near the Ocean Club on May 3, 2007. The failure to test key items like Brueckner's Jaguar or VW van contrasts with the intense scrutiny of the McCanns' rental car, highlighting investigative inconsistencies. Gonçalo Amaral has steadfastly maintained his theory. He argues that Madeleine's passing was likely accidental and points to several pieces of evidence: the malfunctioning security cameras at the Ocean Club, a perceived delay between Kate McCann discovering Madeleine's absence and the first call to police, and the McCanns' perceived lack of cooperation when they were briefly named arguidos in 2007. The McCanns strongly contested these claims, filing the defamation lawsuit. In 2015, a Portuguese court ruled in their favor, but in 2016, the Supreme Court overturned the decision, citing Amaral's right to free speech. The legal battle has been emotionally and financially draining for the McCanns, who maintain that Amaral's claims lack credible evidence. As of 2025, Gonzalo Amaral remains vocal in rejecting the theory that Christian Brueckner is responsible. He argues the focus on Brueckner, who emerged as a suspect in 2020, serves to mask initial investigative errors. He emphasizes the lack of forensic evidence linking Brueckner to Madeleine and contends that the early evidence points to an incident within the residence, not an external abduction. His skepticism aligns with his broader critique of the investigation's trajectory, though his stance has drawn criticism for ignoring evidence against Brueckner. 3 days after Madeleine's disappearance, Anna Stam, a Dutch shop assistant, reported a troubling encounter in Amsterdam. She claimed to have seen a young girl resembling Madeleine, who reportedly said, "They took me from my mommy. Mommy's on holiday." Dutch police created sketches of the couple with the girl, but the lead was not pursued further, a decision later criticized as a missed opportunity. The lack of follow-up may stem from the early focus on the McCanns as suspects. In 2023, a search was conducted at the Arade Reservoir, 31 miles from Praia da Luz, prompted by an anonymous 2013 letter containing GPS coordinates. The reservoir was notable because Christian Brueckner was known to have camped there in 2007. The operation recovered items including animal bones and fabric scraps, but forensic analysis found no evidence linked to Madeleine. Photos found on Brueckner's devices confirmed he visited the reservoir days after her disappearance, suggesting it could have been a disposal site. But the lack of concrete evidence left the search inconclusive. Local reports from 2007 provide additional context. A fisherman at the Arade Reservoir reported hearing a boat engine on the night of May 3rd, an unusual occurrence. Separately, a Praia da Luz resident reported seeing Brueckner in his beige VW van near a children's playground in the weeks leading up to the disappearance. These accounts align with his documented predatory behavior, but the lack of immediate action in 2007 represents a missed opportunity. The Madeleine McCann case, spanning over 18 years, offers profound lessons about resilience, the complexities of justice, and the enduring hope of a family. Christian Brueckner remains the primary suspect, supported by a web of circumstantial evidence. Phone records place him near the Ocean Club, and a 2016 search of a factory he rented uncovered thousands of illicit images and videos involving children, alongside a chilling story with eerie similarities to Madeleine's case. Witness testimonies and items found in his possession paint a predatory profile. Despite this, the absence of forensic proof, DNA, a body, or her personal items, prevents charges, as German prosecutor Hans Christian Walters admitted. The case highlights the critical balance between circumstantial and forensic evidence. Early mishandling of samples in 2007, combined with untested items like Brueckner's vehicles, illustrates how initial oversights can haunt long-term investigations. Brueckner's scheduled release on September 17, 2025, after serving a 7-year sentence for a 2005 assault, intensifies the urgency. The controversial payment of a fine by a former German police employee, which shortened his sentence, further compressed the investigative window. The case exposes the high cost of poor international coordination. The lack of synchronized efforts urges law enforcement to establish robust international task forces. Kate and Jerry McCann have never wavered in their quest for answers. They continue to call for Brueckner's prosecution and are considering escalating their defamation battle against Gonzalo Amaral to the European Court of Human Rights. Their poignant statement, "Whether justice comes tomorrow or never, we will always be Madeleine's parents," reflects their enduring commitment. The Find Madeleine Fund sustains private investigations and awareness campaigns. Their resilience offers a powerful lesson in hope and perseverance, underscoring the importance of public and institutional support for families of missing persons. The case of Madeleine McCann serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of justice. As Brueckner's release looms, it urges us to reflect on how we can improve systems to prevent other cases from lingering in limbo. 18 years on, the story of Madeleine McCann remains a haunting tapestry woven with threads of hope, suspicion, and profound loss. We are left with the image of a grieving family, forced to become global campaigners, a prime suspect on the verge of freedom, and a justice system forever playing catch-up. What does the search for one child teach us about our collective responsibility to all children? When evidence fades and memories blur, what is left to guide the path to truth? This is not just a case file of unanswered questions. It is a reflection of our deepest fears and our most enduring hope. As we stand on the precipice of another chapter in this story, we must ask ourselves, what does justice for Madeleine truly mean now? And will we ever be able to find it? Thanks for watching. How do you feel about these arguments and theories? Does it give you a different perspective on the case? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive the latest notifications.